Drum on WHUR. Welcome to another edition of HUR at Home on WHUR.com and all of our social media platforms. Well, she is 93 years old, and she'll tell you she's almost 94 next month. And she shows no signs of slowing down in her quest to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Tonight, we're talking to social activist Opal Lee. Ms. Lee, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Harold, for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So, we all know the story about Juneteenth. It took some 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was declared for Black slaves in Galveston, Texas, to get word that slavery was actually over. Now, you're from Texas. Talk to me about what you hope to achieve while in Washington, D.C. this week.
I thought you never asked.
Yes, ma'am.
We brought with us 1,500,000 signatures that we've garnered and we're taking them to Congress tomorrow. Symbolically, we're going to take them to the Capitol steps, and we've got a couple of Congress people senators who are going to meet us there. And of course, we're going to turn them over to them. However, knowing how Congress is, I'm going to have them go to the post office and mail them to them to be sure that they get them.
Talk to me about your attempt to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Share with me, what prompted you to go on this quest.
Harold, I guess there have been a lot of things that have prompted me, but one of them was that when I was about 9, parents bought a house in a neighborhood where they didn't want us, and they took it and burned it, tore up all the furniture, ran us out of there on the 19th of June. Now, that's stuck in my memory. And later, I became involved in the Juneteenth celebrations, and for 40 years, I've been the one to do the celebrations. And we're desperately trying to get people to know that it's more than a festival. We see Juneteenth as a unifier. Slaves didn't free themselves. It took a lot of people like some Quakers and John Brown and Nat Turner and Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth and Lord, what's his name? Well, whoever. But they took a lot of people and they did it together. And so I can't understand why we can't address the disparities that are happening to us now together. We need to do something about the school system, the job disparities. Heaven knows the health system needs something done for it. And climate change, just so many things that we could work together that would benefit everybody. And that's what it's going to take. It's not going to take some splinter groups here and some splinter groups there. We're going to have to work together. And our group sees Juneteenth as a unifier. In fact, I advocate having to celebrate from the 19th of June to the 4th of July. Because, hey, slaves weren't free in 1776.
Talk to me about your walk, because that is the thing that those who are familiar with you and familiar with this movement that you started, share with me what that was like, because it was only a few years ago.
Well, 2016 to be exact, when it kept percolating in my head that just because I was in my 90s didn't mean I was going to sit and rock and wait for the Lord to come. In fact, he's going to have to catch me. I gathered some people at my church and we had a little ceremony, and I started walking from the church down the road 2.5 miles. Well, the next morning I got up, started at that point and did 2.5 more miles. I did that to Fort Worth and Arlington, Grand Prairie, Dallas, Box Springs, and Joppa, when my team said it's not going to be like that. And their reasoning was somebody had promised us an RV so I wouldn't have to go back home every night to sleep. And they reneged. They decided what I was doing was too political. So we had to take another tactic. And that was I would only go where there were Juneteenth celebrations and that I, I was invited. So I was invited all over these United States. Uh, I went to Fort Smith and Little Rock and St. Louis and Madison, Wisconsin, and uh, just all over Chicago. I was all over the planet, really. Well, I got to Washington on the 10th of January, 2017. We had asked President Obama to walk with us from the Frederick Douglass House to the Capitol, but he was in Chicago. I didn't get what I wanted, and I didn't give up. So I'm back at it. I've walked, and people have called me to walk, and I'm willing, just as long as the old legs will hold out. I'm willing. And so tomorrow we're going to do that symbolic walk to take those 1,500,000 petitions to Congress. A couple of Congress people said they will be there to accept them. And my own, well, senators are going to be there to accept it. And my congressman says he'll be there, Mark Vesey. So I'm still on the to have Juneteenth a national holiday. And lots of people don't know that at least 47 states out of the 50 states celebrate Juneteenth one way or another. You know?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because outside of the celebrations, some states have already approved Juneteenth as a paid holiday, a paid state holiday. Are you encouraged by that?
Am I what?
Encouraged by that.
Yes, I am. But what I'm really wanting people to know is that Juneteenth's more than a festival. Now, we've got pageants, we got a movie, the children get together, empowering you. They study music from different nationalities, and then they do a concert. We have given away pallets, 26 pallets of food the last time we did it. And to find out that people understand what we're doing, this past Juneteenth, couldn't have a parade. We had a caravan. Did you see it?
I'm familiar with it, of course, because we are in the midst of a pandemic. Well, and it just would not have been the most prudent thing to do.
So we had some 300 plus cars follow me while I did that 2.5-mile walk. So that lets you know some folk are actually listening to what we are saying and getting on the bandwagon. The point that we've got 1,500,000 signatures tell you somebody is listening to us. But we think that we're going to have to bring another 1,500,000 up in January, because we don't plan to let Congress and the people forget about what we want to do. And we keep saying it's more than a festival. It's a unifier. Slaves didn't free themselves.
At 93.9 years old, you have seen a lot.
Yep.
How would you describe where America is right now regarding race relations? Because this issue really is, foundational to race relations right now.
It's I'm going to say at a crossroads. When we settle down, it's going to be a different America altogether. People have pushed this police brutality under the rug, and it's out there where you can see what's happening. And we're just going to have to clean up. We say, well, there are bad apples in the police force, but you got to start from the top and work to the bottom to clean things up and make it equitable.
Mhm.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I know all the police aren't bad. I got some good police friends. You know what I mean? And I know we need policing. I know we need that. And I'm not taking a stand about this defunding. I can see chaos if we didn't have the police that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's some other ways to get things done. And some of it has to be if our parents would take and teach their children from the very smallest ones. I've written a book called Juneteenth, a Children's Story.
Okay.
And it tells we must let the children know. This thing doesn't have a whole lot of scary stuff in it, but I know you know that if we don't know what happened to us before, it's bound to happen again. And that's what it seems like is happening now. And we have to nip it in the bud. And it's going to take all of us to do it. Am I making sense?
Yes, ma'am. I've got a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to ask you, even after this, and I know you said, hey, why not another 1.5 million signatures? Have you ever held public office?
Have I ever what?
Held public office.
No, and don't you dare mention the public. No, indeed. No, I can punch somebody from behind the scenes. That public office stuff is not.
Because I'm sitting here listening to you and your wealth of wisdom, you being, shooting from the hip. And if you can walk from Texas to DC 4 years ago, then being elected to public office, whether it be school board or U.S. Senate in Texas, I would imagine that would not be a difficult feat for you.
You dream, boy.
Well, you're writing children's books. It seems to me that you are just getting started.
Well, there's so much. Really, I'm responsible for a food bank in our city that is servicing some 500 families per day. And those people standing in line, I polled them, and I've got 66 of them that said they want to farm. Well, we chose the people who've been incarcerated and can't find a job. We want to pay them to farm. We ain't asking them to volunteer. And when the program they are in is finished, they've got some skills and some certification. We want the college. We've got Paul Quinn College and Texas A&M, and let these people get some. It's more to farming than digging in the dirt. You understand?
Shout out for those HBCUs.
Yeah.
Yes,
so that's where I am now. I got a 13-acre farm, and we're growing some of everything under the sun, including watermelons here. And I tell you, there's just too much to do, and I hope I get some of it done.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's young people like you who are going to help me, because you're going to get this out to a whole lot of folk.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to thank you, not only for your service, your spirit, your verve for trying to, move this really critical issue forward. You are obviously a great member of your community and our American community. And so I really, really appreciate you spending some time with us. here in the DC Metro, and keep keep sounding the alarm.
Well, let me tell you, it's just not this one little old lady in tennis shoes. We've got a group, the National Juneteenth Observers Foundation, that was founded by Dr. Ronald Myers. And you talking about somebody who could inspire you. Dr. Myers was a medical doctor. He was a Baptist minister and a jazz musician, all rolled into one. And when you met Dr. Myers, you did get the, oh man, he gave you, and he really inspired you. He did. And he inspired me.
And you inspire us all, Miss Lee. I really, again, appreciate you, coming to DC and sharing your thoughts and your mission with us. And, you've got a birthday coming up in a couple of weeks. I wish you only the very best on your birthday on October 7th. And please, stay in touch and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, that is it for this edition of HUR at Home. I'm Harold Fisher. And as always, I'll see you on the radio.